Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento. I feel like all the time we talk about how quickly the world is changing in so many different ways. And of course, AI is ushering in what that new era is going to look like. However, there are certain elements of life that we're not really examining just yet, but it's obvious that all of these areas are going to change. And that's why I'm so excited, because we are joined by one of those very brilliant innovators and creators and fellow entrepreneurs here in today's episode, because this is someone who has examined the entire landscape of messaging, of communication, of conversations, and realized that there's so many opportunities for us as humans to connect better, to coordinate better, and to actually connect with each other in far newer ways. I'm so excited for all of us to learn from a brilliant mind. His name is Ankit Dave. Ankit is the founder and CEO of farflung.ai, but his journey is defined by taking risks when the odds are stacked against him. Ankit originally came to New York in California from a humble background in India with only one semester's worth of living expenses in his pocket. Through grit and resilience and surviving a near-death experience, he carved a path to Google, which you're going to see that he's taken so much of what he's learned there, all of his life experiences. He began his tenure there as a software engineer before pivoting to product management, where he worked on the Fuchsia OS. In April of 2025, Ankit took his boldest leap yet, walking away from his golden handcuffs at Google to build farflung.ai, which is an AI native platform designed to fix broken group chats by turning talk into action. He is now applying his decade of experience in building billion user products to solve the fragmentation of our digital social lives. And I'll tell you what, if you've ever been in a group chat between iPhone users and Android users, or if you've ever tried to negotiate, are we going to do this through Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp? Gosh, Ankit is thinking about so many brilliant solutions. So we're going to learn a lot from him today. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Ankit Dave. All right, Ankit, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.
Heck yes. Honestly, instantly, as soon as we came across farflung.ai, I was just like, this is one of the coolest real life solutions to a very human problem that I've ever seen. So, Ankit, before we start geeking out about that stuff, take us beyond the bio. Who's Ankit? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
Yeah, so I'll probably start with my journey. I'm Ankit. I come from India. I grew up there. I did my bachelor's in engineering in India. Then I took my first big risk of leaving my job at JP Morgan and then moving to New York for my master's. And after that, Google was my first job. I was there for 10 years. I started off in engineering. Over the times, I've learned, like, one thing which made me excited a lot is building new things. I have a long list of things which I've built outside of my work in college. I love building stuff. And then at Google, I worked in various teams, starting with software engineering and then into product management. I was there in Fuchsia OS, where we were powering all the Google Smart Display devices. And while working on Gemini as my last project at Google, I started realizing how cool the LLMs are and how we can change the overall experience of every single product that we use. And that small spark led to Farflung.
Yeah, I love that overview, Ankit, especially because I love the way that you articulated that, is that we can inject all of these superpowers, all these technological advancements into everyday life. And what I personally love about your mission and what you've built is the fact that you're doing it not for technology's sake. You're doing it so that humans can actually connect better. And I know that angle of the future of consumer messaging means so much to you. Why that problem area? Paint that picture of all the gaps and opportunities that you saw, because I'm so excited for you to introduce us to your solution.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about how everyday product can actually evolve with LLMs, one thing was very clear, that the way we use existing products is not going to be the same in the future. And I started realizing different problems that I have with various products that I use. And one thing which I was coming back to all the time was messaging products. So the problem I was seeing is the existing products are very good at communicating. They help us send messages and talk to our friends, but there is nothing more that we can do with our messaging products. There's so much of information that we generate on these products, but then anytime you have to search something, you have to find something, that the overall experience is terrible. You have to know the exact word that you're looking for so that the platform can actually search and give you the results. The other problem I was seeing is people these days, they communicate more on messages compared to any other form of communication. And as a side effect of that, we generate a lot of information, and also a lot of our real world plans, they start from messaging product. For example, if I'm going on a trip, I'll probably start a group chat with my friends, and then we'll start our discussion there. And over time, as the plan becomes more concrete, we'll have to go to these other apps like search, maps, documents, booking platform, etc., depending on the use case. So I wanted to build a product which is smart enough to understand the preferences of each and every person in our group. And anytime we ask a question, it gives a personalized answer for that group. So instead of me trying to figure out what food my friends like, the AI already knows it. It gives me suggestions which are tailored to my group. It also not only helps me get answers, but helps me do the overall the journey on the platform itself without having to switch to other products. For example, for travel, I can not only create itineraries which are personalized for my group, but I can also get a personalized packing list, an audio podcast explaining exactly what is going to happen on the trip. I can upload my bookings. In the future, it could also help you with booking flights and hotels, etc. But then this is just travel use case. Same thing can happen in different verticals of our life. So if a group of people, they are studying, they can also get personalized answers depending on their level of understanding from AI. The same thing can happen with events, productivity, etc.
Yeah, it's really cool hearing you talk about those real life use cases. You get me thinking about my personal life, and even something as what should be simple about planning when I'm going to play tennis with a close friend. Even that turns into a long conversation where we have to figure out scheduling. Then we have to figure out, okay, what are some tennis courts in between the two of us? Because here in the Tampa area, we're lucky. We have 3 cities in really close proximity, but it also means that there's always this negotiation of who's going to drive across the bridge? Where are we going to play tennis? How are we going to line all of that up? And it's cool to have AI powered tools. Sure, can I hop over to ChatGPT and ask those questions? Yes, but to live in one place, I think it's really cool. So, Ankit, I'm going to ask you about the platform itself of farflung.ai, because here in the US, I find it interesting that we obviously, so many of us rely on iMessage, and that's kind of the knock on all of us iPhone users, whereas internationally, people care less about what phone you have because they have that more centralized communication platform, whether it's Telegram or WhatsApp. What's your take on the platforms that we live in, how the hardware lines up with that? Because obviously you're thinking about how to bake all of that into one place inside of Farflung.
Right. So right now, Farflung is a standalone messaging app similar to WhatsApp. Farflung can work on iOS, Android, and web. Over time, I think there is a possibility that we can have a number, a text number that you can add to any of your groups in iMessage or SMS, so that we can also get the capabilities of Farflung into those different types of platforms. But right now, the way I'm thinking about it is a standalone vertical platform that gives us a lot of power in terms of the overall UX that we can deliver to our customers.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about that UX, because I've obviously seen Farflung. Ankit, my biggest complaint about podcasting is that listeners can't see the things that we're talking about. Obviously, on your website, you have so many cool images of how Farflung works, and you've got walkthrough videos, and it's really cool to see it in action. But for people who are sitting there thinking, well, what does that mean? So I can be texting with my friends, but also AI is present there. I can be texting with AI. What does that UX look like as far as interacting with AI versus our friends, or is it all together in one place?
Right. Yeah. So I can maybe give you an example walkthrough of how the UX works. So let's say I'm planning a trip with my friends. You can Open Farflung, you can create a group with your friends, and then you can start talking just like you would on any a normal messaging app. At any instant, if you want help from AI, you can just say at Farflung, suggest, create an itinerary or plan a trip. You don't have to provide the entire context because the AI can go through your messages and understand what you're talking about. It also knows the preferences of each and every person in the present in that group chat. So the results are actually tailored to that particular group. The result you get from Farflung in different groups would be different depending on who's present. Then, if you look at the itinerary, you get an option to save it or create a trip. When you create it, we have this centralized place called hubs. Anything that you save will go into a hub. So if you save an itinerary, it creates a new trip in your hub. Inside the hub, you not only see your saved itinerary, but you also get a lot of smart AI generated content depending on what you're saving. So in this case, you'll get tailored suggestions. So let's say if you are traveling to Dubai, this is your first international trip, and you have no idea what to expect. AI will automatically extract information like what's an alternative to Uber in Dubai? What's the currency? Any cultural things you should be aware of. Similarly, it will create packing lists which is customized to your trip. A podcast explaining everything, the overall trip, so that if you have people present in the group who are not so active in planning, they can also listen to the podcast. Yeah, so this is where hubs come into play, where you have everything centralized with your group in one place, and everyone has access to it in the group. The other thing is, at any point, if you don't want AI to see your messages, you can just toggle AI visibility in your group chat on off. So if you turn it off, AI will not be able to see those messages ever.
Ankit, I want to point this out because I think it's important when people listen to business podcasts and whenever we talk about this next frontier, all of these innovations and really the revolutions inside of so many industries, it sounds like a futuristic thing, but I think it's really important for us to state this here early on in our conversation. We're not talking theoretically. Farflung.ai is already live in beta on the iOS App Store and the Android App Store. So we're talking about something that already exists today, which is why I'm really excited to also talk to you as a fellow entrepreneur about the fact that you not only saw these gaps, you not only saw these opportunities, but you've actually built the thing. It's actually already out there functioning. Talk to us about that massive action that you took to bring this to life, because this is the next wave, and obviously you're helping to shape what that looks like.
Yeah. So when I started thinking about the problem, I just spent a significant amount of time thinking how the product would actually look like and how it would behave. I also had a list of things which I wanted to be aware of while building the product. One initial insight or maybe a feeling I had about the product was I don't want AI to be interrupting all the time. So I want people to always be in control so that they can invoke AI whenever they want. So there were some principles like this which I had initially. And based on that, I started slowly creating the product. It's not like instantly I had the entire vision in mind, but then I started creating a smaller version of the product, and then I started iterating on it, and then slowly Farflung came live.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously, there's so many things that people think about when it comes to where we choose to message with our friends and family. And I know, looking into Farflung as much as I have, that you've thought about so many different components of it, because I'd say that there's actually two massive complexities in what it is that you've built. First and foremost, just any messaging platform is sensitive. That's where we communicate with people that we care about. But then secondly, when we have that extra set of eyes of an AI model looking in on things, people always wonder, what's that look like from a privacy perspective? Take us behind the scenes in Farflung. What are the considerations there, and what have you built so that you can really guide people in the right way there?
Right. So, privacy is very important for us, and that's why there are few things that we do that makes Farflung position itself so much better in terms of privacy compared to existing products. So first thing, which I already mentioned, is you can always toggle Farflung visibility in any of the chat, so that if you want it to be a private chat between you and your friends, just toggle off, and AI will not be able to see any of the messages that you share there. The second thing is we are not using any of our existing, like we don't have our own LLM, and that puts us into a very good state in terms of privacy. So imagine any existing player who not only owns the product but also owns the underlying LLM will know exactly what you talk about in your messaging products. But in our case, when we look at all the messages, when we know what exactly you are trying to do, we massage all the information, we take out all the personal information out, and then we do an LLM call. That way, the LLM has no idea who the users are on the platform, because all the time it sees user A ask this, user B ask this. It has no idea who user A or B are. But in an existing vertically integrated platform where the LLM and the product are owned by the same company, they can probably create a virtual avatar of the users and knowing exactly who you are, what you like, and then they can target ads to you. So that, I think, is the core thing which separates Farflung from existing products who could do LLM stuff in their messaging products.
Yeah, that is very cool. I really appreciate that behind the scenes glimpse into it. It's also fascinating to see the way that you've thought about this. And it's a very real solution to human problems and human considerations, but also in a way that serves us as the users. So I really appreciate that. And Ankit, I've been so excited to ask you this because we are at such an interesting time in the world of AI and how we're all using it. I feel like when ChatGPT first dropped, everyone, at least in the entrepreneurial world, everyone was just like, let me create social media content. Let me create blog post content. And it was so basic the way that people were using it. Now it's obviously evolved a little bit. People are, well, thanks to Nano Banana, like people are now graphic designers thanks to it. And people are dropping their call transcripts into AI and they're doing really cool real life applications of AI. You've worked behind the scenes at these highest level AI innovation companies, and obviously being the innovator in your own company now, you probably recognize better than most that not only is AI powerful, but reshaping human behavior to leverage the AI is very powerful. Because when I look at farflung.ai, part of me thinks, I don't even know if myself and my friends would know how to get the most out of it. I don't know if we'd maximize all the ways that we could take advantage of this incredible technology. What does that user behavior look like? I'm asking you this question from two perspectives. One, from an onboarding, like, does Farflung help us make sense of here's all the things we can do? And then from a second perspective, how have you seen that human behavior naturally evolve when using the platform?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you can always ask Farflung like what things it can do, and it will always give you all the things that it will give you the right answers in terms of all the capabilities and things you can try. But I think the best way to solve this is to make the overall UX so easy to understand. And that's the power of LLMs, right? You don't have to remember any commands. You can just talk naturally, and the UX is a layer on top of it. And I think the UX has to be in such a way that everything seems natural for the user. They don't have to learn or memorize anything. Anytime you see an answer, you just see a button which says save it, and you click it. It just goes into your hub. And you magically see all the AI generated content there. I want to iterate on the UX so much so that it's super easy and intuitive for users. I think the second part of your question is around how that is changing user behavior. I think as people are using all these AI products more and more, people's behavior, I have seen people's behavior change so much that a lot of things that they were doing in the past is very different than how they're behaving now. One good example is software engineering. A lot of people who are using AI editors a lot, then these people are writing less and less lines of code by themselves. They're taking so much help from AI. And now just thinking that so many lines of code that we were writing by our hand, that era has gone. A lot of code now is being written by AI, and then we're just helping AI to write the first initial pass of it, and then we do the testing and other stuff. The same thing goes with writing. A lot of people are not writing emails; they're just taking help from all these AI products. I think it's definitely changing the way we behave with existing products, and this will keep evolving. I think the UX is going to get better and better over time for different products.
Yeah, for sure. It's true. You're right. Even in day-to-day life, even business aside, I think personally we're starting to change the way that we look at our normal behaviors. Even if I'm going to the store, I'll think to myself, okay, I need these things to hang up a picture on the wall. What am I missing? Are there other things that would make my life a lot easier? So even my shopping trips or grocery trips, even those are starting to change the way that I prepare and the way that I leverage AI in those ways. So Ankit, I've got to ask you this question. Anytime I talk to founders of incredible softwares and especially apps like yours, I always bring up the network effect because that's something that I so admire about companies that have made it. Think about it. There's been so many different social media companies started in our lifetimes, but why has Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat, why have these been become the ones that have been household names? And it's because they've achieved the network effect of we sign up for Facebook because all of our friends were on there once upon a time. Obviously, that's an outdated example these days. But Ankit, the point remains for messaging apps is that when all of our friends start using something, we tend to get on that bandwagon. Obviously, as a founder, you're thinking about not just the technical side of things, but also the marketing, the user experience, the market penetration. Where's your mind go when you start to think about that mass adoption?
Right. So we just recently made our app live. Our focus now is on marketing the product so that more and more people at least know what farflung.ai is. But you are right. The network effect is really important for a messaging product. You get the best value out of a messaging product only when your friends are there. If you open an app and your friends are not there, it doesn't give you so much value. And that's why the way we are thinking about marketing a product is starting with one use case at a time. If you open our app today, it solves one use case very well, which is travel. So we're not expecting people to do all the conversations on the app today, but at least when you're planning a trip, when you're facing those problems where trying to get personalized answers or creating personalized trips with your friends is hard, then at least for those use cases, you can try our app. And over time, there will be more and more use cases that we're adding on the platform, giving you more reasons to keep trying it. The other thing which we are thinking about is also there is a lot of value that we see on the B2B side with this product. And that's the other thing we are working in parallel. So we have a couple of partnerships coming up with other companies on the B2B side that will give us not only initial users, but also help us generate some revenue.
Ankit, I really appreciate those insights. To me, this is what we've been so excited about when we reached out to you to invite you to come on the show, is the fact that not only are you building an incredible technology, but you're an incredible founder in the way that you think about these things, and especially the way that you share these things. It's not always easy being the innovator, and that's why I want to turn the spotlight onto you personally for a second as a fellow founder, because I know how much scrappy innovation means to you. I feel like it's embedded in your life story, your life journey, the way that you operate as an entrepreneur. Talk to us a little bit more about that side of your life and experience up to this point and how that leaks into the type of work that you do.
Yeah, so I have this. So one thing which I have ingrained in me is anytime I see a problem or if I want to build something, I will not let anything stop or come in my way. And that can happen in so many ways. Like, for example, I can give you one thing. During my internship, I actually was thinking of an idea where I wanted to create a virtual reality headset that not only lets you see virtual objects, but also have augmented reality built in, so mixed reality headset, and also has the ability to interact with virtual objects. And this is back in 2014 when Microsoft HoloLens or Vision Pro didn't exist. And I wanted to build it as an intern with zero budget, zero team, but I found out different ways of doing it and eventually ended up building a VR headset. And the same thing applies to other projects which I have done. I personally believe that if you want to do something, don't let anything come in your way. There are always ways or things you can find out which will help you build the things that you want. So even in case of Farflung, we don't have a lot of resources. We started off with nothing, and slowly and steadily we have come a long way. And I'm really hopeful that we'll be successful in the future.
Yeah, I love that, especially because in today's day and age, things that previously were unattainable, you and I, for example, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe I can't lump you in here because you are a software engineer by nature, but I, for example, I couldn't create an app 15 years ago. It would be a mountain of learning, of education. Are there resources? Yes, but with vibe coding tools, I can get so much closer, at least, to the finish line and then bring in incredible experts that will help me get over that. It's really cool to hear that, and I love that very consciously you decided, let's bootstrap this. Let's create something real and get it out into the world. Was there a time where you considered going the investment route? Obviously, there's so many open doors in the future, and I know that your thoughts probably go there sometimes, but when it came time for you to take action and say, no, I'm going to make farflung.ai a real thing, what did that decision point look like? And then how quickly did you get to that finish line of a beta that's already today live in the app stores?
Yeah, so I started thinking about this product in, I would say, around April or March of this year. And then I left my job at Google sometime in April to work on this full time. And we launched our beta a few weeks back. So it happened this quickly.
Ankit, I've got to ask you the question then, because I know a lot of listeners are really going to relate to this part of your journey. The golden handcuffs. I love that you also use that term. It's something that I talk about so much on the air. It's such a tricky situation to navigate for the exact reason that golden handcuffs allude to, is that it is steady to have that paycheck. It is steady to have those benefits. But at the same time is our most limited resource. So what did that decision point look like? Because you had an incredible career up to this point. Obviously, you fully take on that entrepreneurial risk, but what was that cost benefit analysis that you weighed in your head?
Yeah, so I actually didn't do any cost benefit analysis. I think it's just an instinct I have. I think it goes back to the point where if I want to do something, I will not let anything stop me. I always feel that if I waste this current time not doing things which I want, then eventually in the future I might start regretting it. I know working at Google is a dream job, not only for me, for a lot of people, and leaving that was not easy. But if I don't jump on this, like if I don't build Farflung today, I might regret that in the future. I personally feel it's a very good time for people to build new products because there is so much of vacuum in the overall product space that has been created with AI. Every single product that we are using today will go through this change, and I'm not sure when this type of opportunity will come in the future. And that, I think, was the biggest reason for me to just go and try it out. It doesn't matter if you're successful or not, but it's a very good time to go out and build something.
Yes, so well said. Ooh, I love that. I don't know how you're going to top that in just a minute when I ask you for your best piece of advice for listeners, but I want to squeeze one additional question in before I ask you for that piece of advice for listeners, because I'm always so fascinated by product builders such as yourself when it comes to the roadmap. You obviously are so disciplined when it comes to having a roadmap of features, but Ankit, I want to ask you this not as a software engineer, but I want to ask you this question as a fellow CEO, as a fellow founder. When you think about the roadmap for your company, obviously the world is changing quicker now than it ever has at any point before. When you look at the future, when you look at your plan, when you look at your growth, when you look at what farflung.ai is going to become, what's that time horizon look like for you? And how do you make sense of all the things that are going to change between now and then?
Yeah, I think there are few things which will not change that much. I think the type of product we want to build, the long-term vision that we have for the company, where we want a messaging app that not only helps you chat but collaborate and organize all in one place. That I don't see changing so much, but the way the product would behave will change significantly, and it's a very fast changing space. having a very long-term roadmap, I don't think makes a lot of sense. So that's why at this point of time, I have small goals that I want to achieve very quickly. And then anytime something new comes up in the AI space, I'm just all glued to my screen, trying to understand how that will change the future and trying to quickly adapt. Any company which is trying to adapt quickly, I think would be more successful than people who are rigid to their roadmaps.
Ooh, so well said. I love this movement. More and more, I'm starting to hear that answer from founders. And I think all the way back to 2009, when I'm sitting in a business school classroom, and how frequently professors said, you got to have a 5-year plan. You got to have a 10-year plan. Some professors said you have to have a 30-year plan, which I don't know how any of us can plan for that stuff. 2020 alone showed that you can't even have a 6-month plan sometimes. So I really appreciate that answer and those insights. And Ankit, time flew by with you today, but I'm going to squeeze in the question that I always ask at the end of every episode, and that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both wantrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and also knowing that you are one of us, you're a fellow entrepreneur, what's that one thing that you want to leave them with today?
Yeah, I would like to say that people should not wait for the perfect time. If there's something that you want to do it, jump, take that jump, because the perfect time may or may not come. And also don't hesitate with experimenting new things. They'll definitely surprise you in terms of what outcomes you can get.
Yes. Oh, I love that advice. Ankit, the cool thing to me about getting to interact with you here today is the fact that you are a true innovator. You've built a really cool technology that's at that cutting edge. All of these things are going to change. We already know that that's true, and I'm so grateful to hear from an incredible founder such as yourself that's guiding us in that revolution. But what always really stands out to me is when there's founders that practice what they preach. You're not just sharing this advice from us and then not following it yourself. These are so deeply ingrained in your personal life, in your professional journey. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm also very excited for listeners to check out all the cool things that you're doing with farflung.ai. Obviously, the link is right there in the name, farflung.ai. But Ankit, I want to kick it back to you. For listeners who do want to see it in action, where should they go from here? How should they start in this exciting journey?
Yeah, you can check out our website, farflung.ai, and from there you can get links to download our app on iOS or Android.
Yes, and listeners, you already know we're making it as easy as possible for you to find that down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. It's free, by the way. Ankit and I didn't explicitly say that while we were on the air, but I'm the one who's telling you it is free. So definitely check it out in the show notes down below. It doesn't matter what phone you have. You can get started on there and invite your friends as well. Now you get to be one of the innovators thanks to all the cool things that Ankit and his team have built. So Ankit, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.